Seconds left in the World Cup final.
The U.S. gets set from the corner.
Do you believe in miracles?
For more than 30 years, America has been trying to become a football country. Not a country that plays football, a country that loves it. A country whose national team carries the weight of 150 million expectations on a Sunday afternoon. The way Brazil does, the way England does, the way Argentina does. There's a small detail that tells you how far America has had to come. The rest of the world calls this sport football. America calls it soccer. One word, and an entire cultural distance contained inside it. By the end of this video, you'll know whether America has finally closed that distance, or whether the 2026 World Cup is about to expose the most expensive sporting illusion in history. This is World Cup Untold, and this is America's story.
The other day is, why not us? Why not us? Why not us? We need to really believe that we can be there. We need to dream.
In the summer of 1994, the United States hosted a World Cup most of the country didn't know was happening. There was no professional league, no domestic television deal that mattered, no generation of American kids who could name 3 players on their own national team. The tournament came, the tournament left, and football stayed exactly where it had always been in America. Somewhere behind baseball, basketball, hockey, and the kind of football you play with your hands. But something quiet happened that summer. A bet was placed. That if you built the league, if you imported the stars, if you spent enough money for long enough, eventually, a country could fall in love with a sport it didn't even share a name for. 32 years later, that bet is about to be settled. The bet started small. In 1996, 2 years after the World Cup, Major League Soccer kicked off with 10 teams playing in cavernous American football stadiums to crowds that didn't quite fill the lower bowl. Tactically, the games were strange. Aesthetically, the league was unsure of itself. Half the country didn't know it existed. Then, in 2007, David Beckham landed in Los Angeles. A $250 million contract. A press conference that crashed servers. A bet doubled that one of the most famous footballers in the world could drag American eyeballs onto the sport that, until then, had refused to hold them. It worked. A little. Then came Thierry Henry, Kaká, Andrea Pirlo, David Villa, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Zlatan Ibrahimović, who arrived in LA in 2018 and announced himself with the line, "A lion doesn't compare himself to humans." The crowds grew, the TV deals grew, the kids in American suburbs started wearing kits. And then in 2023, the biggest signing in the sport's history. Lionel Messi walking into Inter Miami in pink, the World Cup trophy still warm in his memory. The deal was unlike any in football history. Part salary, part Apple TV revenue share, part stake in the league itself. Messi wasn't just signing for a club. He was being given a piece of the bet. American kids who had never sat through a full football match before sat through every Inter Miami game that summer. The pink shirt became the best-selling jersey in the world. By the time Messi arrived, MLS had 30 teams. American kids were growing up watching the Premier League on weekend mornings. Christian Pulisic was scoring goals in the Champions League. Weston McKennie was playing for Juventus. Tyler Adams was captaining the Premier League side Bournemouth. For the first time in history, America had a generation of footballers who had been built by football, not adapted to it. The bet was paying off. And then came the night that nearly broke everything. October the 10th, 2017. Couva, Trinidad. A small stadium, a wet pitch, and a United States team that needed only a draw against a Trinidad and Tobago side that had lost 9 of its previous 10 qualifiers. The match was supposed to be a formality. The United States had been to 7 straight World Cups. The bet was paying off. The kids were in Europe. The league was growing. The arrow was pointing up. Then an own goal. A long-range strike that beat Tim Howard from 25 yards. And in injury time, a Christian Pulisic goal that wasn't quite enough. 2-1 to Trinidad. The United States were out of the 2018 World Cup, the first one they'd missed in 32 years. In American homes that night, the silence was unfamiliar. Not because losing was new, but because, for the first time in a generation, losing mattered. Kids who had grown up wearing Pulisic shirts to school went to bed knowing they wouldn't see him at a World Cup. The bars in New York and Los Angeles that had been booked for the next summer cancelled their reservations. American football journalists, the ones who had spent a decade telling the country that the corner had been turned, sat in front of empty notebooks. The day American football was supposed to have grown up was the day America discovered it hadn't. It was the moment the bet looked like it might lose. What happened next is the reason this 2026 squad exists. The Federation tore up the model. The youth academies were rebuilt. A generation of kids, Pulisic, McKennie, Adams, Reyna, Robinson, Dest, were sent to Europe earlier than any American players before them. By the time the 2022 World Cup came around in Qatar, the United States had the youngest squad in the entire tournament. They reached the round of 16 and lost honorably to the Netherlands. But honorable losses don't pay off 30-year bets. In the summer of 2024, on home soil, the United States crashed out of the Copa America in the group stage. The manager, Greg Berhalter, was sacked within weeks, and the Federation made the most expensive decision in its history. They went to Argentina. They went to a man who had managed Tottenham, Paris Saint-Germain, and Chelsea. A man whose career had been a story of nearly. They paid him reportedly more than $6 million a year, and they handed him the keys to the most important USMNT generation ever assembled. Mauricio Pochettino's job was simple to describe and almost impossible to do. Take the bet. And finally, on home soil, in front of the world, make it pay. The squad Pochettino has built is the most talented the United States has ever sent to a World Cup. And the man at the center of it is the one carrying the heaviest weight of all, Christian Pulisic, 27 years old, AC Milan, 82 caps, the boy from Hershey, Pennsylvania, who at 16 did something almost no American footballer had done before him, left home, alone, for Germany. He signed for Borussia Dortmund as a teenager, scored Champions League goals before he could legally drink in his own country, won a Champions League with Chelsea, and somewhere along the way became the first American footballer the rest of the world had to take seriously. Earlier this season, he was leading Serie A in scoring. He has not scored for the national team since November 2024. The whole tournament could turn on whether he finds that form again by June. Pulisic is the bet made flesh, the player America couldn't have produced 30 years ago, carrying the team America couldn't have built 30 years ago, on the soil America couldn't have hosted on 30 years ago. Tyler Adams, 27, Bournemouth. The team's heartbeat in midfield, a player Pochettino has said the United States simply needs against the best teams in the world. Adams's body has fought him for 2 years. His fitness in June will decide what kind of tournament this becomes. Weston McKennie, Juventus, 27. A year ago he was frozen out of Pochettino's squad. Today he's one of only 3 midfielders in Juventus's history to score 10 goals in the Champions League, alongside 2 Ballon d'Or winners, the most improved American footballer of the cycle. Chris Richards, Crystal Palace centre-back, Premier League regular, the aerial spine of the defence, reigning US Soccer Male Player of the Year. The one player Pochettino arguably cannot do without. Folarin Balogun, 24, Monaco. Born in New York to Nigerian parents, raised in London, eligible for the United States, England and Nigeria. England capped him at youth level. Nigeria came calling. He chose America. In 2023, in a quiet announcement that mattered more than it sounded, FIFA approved the switch, and the United States gained a striker who has now become Pochettino's first-choice number 9 on the back of a League One and Champions League season that has finally answered the question of who scores America's goals when Pulisic doesn't. Balogun didn't have to be American. He chose to be. And the bet, quietly, gained one of its most important pieces. Behind them, a squad with European pedigree at almost every position. Anthony Robinson at Fulham, Serginho Dest at PSV, Tim Weah at Marseille, Malik Tillman at Bayer Leverkusen, Ricardo Pepi at PSV. This is the generation the bet was supposed to produce. The question is whether they're ready to be what the bet promised. The United States opened the 2026 World Cup on June the 12th at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles against Paraguay. They follow with Australia in Seattle on the 19th and finish the group against Turkey, the European playoff winner, back at SoFi on the 25th. It is, on paper, one of the more favorable group draws of any host nation in modern World Cup history. The United States have beaten Paraguay and Australia in friendlies in the last 18 months. Turkey is the only opponent ranked inside the world's top 40. But host nations don't get judged on the group stage. They get judged on the moment the tournament becomes real. Mexico, in 1986, reached the quarterfinals on home soil, and Mexicans still talk about it. South Korea reached the semi-finals in 2002, and a generation of Korean football grew from that one tournament. South Africa, in 2010, became the first host nation in history to fail to escape the group. And the wound has not closed. The United States have done it once before. In 1994, on home soil, they reached the round of 16. The country was politely impressed. The bet was placed. Anything less than a round of 16 in 2026 would be the worst host nation performance since South Africa. A quarter-final would equal the best modern American World Cup result and validate the entire generation. A semi-final would change the country. For 32 years, America has been pouring billions of dollars and 3 generations of belief into a single question: can a country buy its way into loving a sport? In June, on home soil, in stadiums full of fans wearing jerseys their fathers never owned, the United States will give us the answer. Pochettino will be on the touchline, Pulisic will have the armband, Balogun will lead the line, and somewhere in the stands at SoFi Stadium, you can be sure there will be a man named Beckham, a man named Ibrahimović, a man named Messi, watching, knowing they were part of something bigger than themselves. The bet has been placed. The cards are about to be turned over. If you want to follow every story at this World Cup, every nation, every captain, every untold journey, subscribe to World Cup Untold. We're telling all of them, one at a time, before the tournament's first whistle. Because every team has a story. This was America's.